back to my channel. For those who don't know me, hi, welcome, I'm Joanna and I am a true crime YouTuber. I make true crime videos and I post a video every Saturday. So if you enjoy true crime videos, please subscribe to my channel, I really appreciate it. In today's video, we're going to talk about a case that took place in Portugal. And this is a case that is still going on, it's not over yet because it happened early this year. And this case shocked the entire country. So let's just start. Today we're going to talk about a little girl named Valentina. She was 9 years old and she was brutally murdered by her own father. Valentina Fonseca was a result of an unwanted pregnancy and she lived with her mother, Sonia, in Bobajal in Portugal. And only when she was 1 year old, she was given her father's last name. The court ordered a DNA test and it was confirmed that Sandro Fonseca was the father of Valentina, so he really didn't have a choice. It's illegal to have a child of an unidentified father, so he really didn't have a choice. She was his daughter, so he had to at least provide things for her. But Sandro still didn't want to give his last name to Valentina, but as I said, he didn't really have a choice. The court ordered the DNA test proved he was her father, so he didn't have a choice. He had to take responsibility. According to Valentina's stepdad, Nelson, the first time she met her father was only when she was 1.5 years old. And when she got back from his house, her body was covered up in bruises and she had lice and fleas. In April of 2019, a year ago, Valentina went to her father's house and she ran away, but a few hours later she was found. And I think that this is really weird. She was 8 years old last year, so an 8-year-old kid doesn't just run away. Like if she was 13, 14, okay, I could understand that, because maybe like she asked her father for something and he said no, so she said, oh, I'm gonna run away. Because I mean, we all thought of running away when we were kids, but when we were like 8, 9, we never did it, because we were like, where I'm gonna sleep, what I'm gonna eat, like where am I going? So yeah, but if she was like 13, she was in her teens, yeah, she was maybe in her realist phase, I would believe that she actually ran away. But an 8-year-old kid doesn't run away just because. But the Commission for the Protection of Children and Youth didn't think like me. So they were called when she ran away and they investigate the case, but I don't think they investigated very deeply, otherwise they would find something, because the 8-year-old, as I said, doesn't just run away. But a month later they closed the case, and I'm gonna quote what they said. Taking into account the facts identified and information collected to date, Commission for the Protection of Children and Youth understood that there was no situation that justified the need for the application of a promotion and protection measure. So they thought that they didn't have a reason to apply the promotion and protection measure, because apparently Sandro was a good father to Valentina and she just ran away. Now let's talk about what type of person Sandro was. There's not a lot of information on his background, but I still was able to gather a little bit of information. So Sandro had a drug-related past and he didn't help Sonia take care of Valentina at all. He just didn't care about his own daughter. And when this happened, a teacher of his from like when he was in middle school, I think, posted on Facebook and talked a little bit about him. She says in that post that he was very polite, he was emotional, and he was very respectful, and that he had suffered a lot with society. I don't know what she meant by that, but I think maybe he suffered like bully or something like that in school. Let's move forward to early of this year when the pandemic started. And you all know COVID like ruined so many things in everyone's life. So when the pandemic started and like school started shutting down, when everything was shutting down, Sonia had to work still, and Valentina had school online, and you know, she was 9 years old. She needed an adult to be by her side to make sure that she was attending the class and she was paying attention, and Sonia didn't have that time because she had to go to work. So Sonia thought it was better for Valentina if she went to spend some time with her father, because I think that in Sonia's house she didn't have like a very good Wi-Fi, and on Sandro's house, the Wi-Fi was better, so she decided to take Valentina to her father's house. Sandro actually had a plan before this pandemic started, and he was going to immigrate with his wife Marcia and their 3 children. One of them is not actually his children, like the oldest one is only Marcia's kid from a previous marriage, and 3 children are the oldest is 11 years old, then the middle one is 4 years old, and the youngest one is only a few months old, is a newborn. And they were all going to immigrate to Belgium, and Sandro had just recently quit his job to go to Belgium. But as I said, we were and still are in a pandemic, so at that time the borders were closed, so they had to stay in Portugal. On May 7th of 2020, Sandro goes to the police and tells them that his daughter is missing. He says that the last time he saw her was around 1 a.m. when he went to her room to check on her. Police started to search for her right away. They initially thought that she had run away because she already died in the past. Then they thought that maybe she was a sleepwalker and she got up of her bed and just walked out of the house. They never really believed in this theory because Valentina was very, very scared of the dark. So they don't think that she will just get up in the middle of the night and just run away. The house had no signs of forced entry, so it was very unlikely that she was taken. After 4 days of searches where hundreds of people were involved, like people from the community wanted to help and bring Valentina home safe, the police, firefighters, there were hundreds of people involved. But after 4 days, Valentina's older brother it wasn't actually her brother, but they had a very strong bond and he loved her like she was his real sister. And let me just remind you that this boy is only 11 years old and I can't imagine the trauma he went through. But this 11-year-old boy was the one who told investigators what had happened to his little sister, and he became the most important witness in the whole case. So this little boy watched as his sister was slowly dying, and his mother and his stepfather didn't seem to care. I'm gonna explain a little bit later how she died, but after she passed away, Sandra and Marcia got rid of her body and threatened this little boy to not tell anything, because if he told anything what he saw or what had happened in that house on that day, his little sisters, the 4-year-old and the newborn, will suffer the consequences. But he was brave enough to tell the authorities what had happened, and I can't even imagine the trauma that this kid is going through. And he must have been so scared, because by telling the authorities, like, he thought that he was putting his little sisters in danger because he was threatened. So I can't even imagine, like, he was so brave. So investigators confronted Sandro, and when he was confronted with what his stepson had said, he confessed everything, and he took them to where he had hid Valentina's body. It was around 6 kilometers away from their house. So, I mean, he wasn't very smart because she was very close to home. Yeah, he didn't know how to hide a body. After the autopsy was done, it was discovered that Valentina had suffered numerous head injuries and burns, but they were still unable to find the cause of death. But Sandro and Marcia were both arrested for the murder of Valentina. She may have not touched her or anything, but she knew what was going on and she didn't help. So she's as much as guilty as Sandro. So Sandro then kept basically changing his story. That's what a liar does, right? And his defense said that Valentina had fallen after an epilepsy attack and she had hit her head and then she died. But if she died because of an epilepsy attack, then that was a natural death. It was because of that disease. So he, instead of calling, in America it's 911, but in Portugal is 112, he decided to just get rid of her body. He doesn't try to call for help. I mean, that's very weird. That's like, if my kid had an epilepsy attack, I will immediately call 112 and I will do everything to help my kid. I wouldn't just let my kid die. So yeah, no one believed this. I don't even know why he made this up, because after the autopsy results and what his stepson had said, he wasn't worried, like no one would believe him. But then he confessed everything. He told what he did to his own daughter, and this is a monster. I don't know how, I don't know how someone can hurt another person, but I don't understand how a father can hurt his own kid, because your parents are the people who are supposed to protect you from everything and everyone, and Valentina's father didn't protect her at all. It's not the first case we have here of a parent killing their child, but it's still shocking. I mean, if you don't feel shocked by this, it's a little bit weird. So he told investigators that on May 1st of 2020, he hit Valentina a lot, and then he brought her to the bathtub, which he filled with boiling water, and he basically tortured her. So he told the police that he suspected that Valentina was being abused by one of her mother's friends, and he wanted her to tell him if she was being abused and who was doing that to her, who was hurting her. And he said that's why he did what he did to her. That's why he hit her. That's why he burned her with boiling water. But this was not the day that she was killed. Then he and Marcia were having a lot of fights because of Valentina. Like, Marcia didn't like Valentina. She didn't want her there. So she told Sandro that he should take Valentina back to her mother's house. Then on May 6th, Sandro told investigators that he was giving a bath to Valentina, and he filled one more time the bathtub with boiling water and basically did the same thing, and he hit her a lot. And when I say a lot, it's a lot, with extreme violence. He hit her so hard that when they did the autopsy, like, they noticed that her skull had moved out of place. And they say that this usually happens with newborns. You know, when they're crying and you're trying to calm them down, so you're like shaking them and trying to calm them down, but like you can shaking them really hard because their head is very fragile, and if you shake them hard, their skull is going to move out of place because they're very fragile. So imagine how hard he had to hit her and how hard he was like shaking her for her skull to move out of place. So imagine how violent he was for that to happen to a 9-year-old girl. And while Sandra was doing this to Valentina, Maxia was watching, and she told investigators that she could see a cry for help in Valentina's eyes, but she didn't do anything. So that's why I said earlier that she is as much as guilty as Sandra, because she may not have even laid a finger on her, but she didn't help her. She knew what was happening, and she didn't care. So she is guilty too. And she is as much as the monster has Sandra. And that episode of violence only ended when Valentina was unconscious, and then Sandro took her to the couch in the living room where her siblings were. And Sandro just left her there in the couch and didn't care about her. And she was in agony for 13 hours before she passed away. 13 hours. Like, her death must have been so painful because it was such a slow death. He just left her there suffering. As I said, the other kids were home as well. Like, the 11-year-old didn't understand exactly what was happening. They didn't understand why his sister was like in so much pain, and why his mother and his stepdad didn't care about her and didn't try to help her. And the two youngest children were too young to even understand what was happening, and they had no idea, especially the newborn, which is kind of a good thing. After Sandra and Marcia were arrested, Sandra tried to commit suicide, but he didn't succeed, and I'm thankful that he didn't, because he doesn't deserve to die. He deserves to rot in jail for the rest of his life. But unfortunately, the maximum sentence here in Portugal is 25 years, so I hope both Sandra and Marcia, I hope they at least get the 25 years. But they are both in jail right now. They are waiting for their trial to begin, which has not been scheduled yet. Maybe soon, I will don't know. I tried to find some information about the trial, but there's just like none information. So yeah, but I hope it begins soon, and I hope they rot in jail for the rest of their lives, because that's what they deserved. This was a crime that shocked the entire country, and especially the people that helped in the searches, because they really thought that she was like somewhere, that she had run away, because she already did that in the past. They, at the beginning, they never thought that she was brutally murdered by her own father. And I mean, when I first heard about this case, I started suspecting of the father just because one thing. When when reporters were like showing images like of what he was doing and stuff, he didn't seem like worried. You know, like if my kid was missing, girl, I would be like hysterical. I'll be like, where is he? Please find him. I want him now. Like, I want to know where he is now. Because then he was going to the coffee shops and, you know, having a drink with his friends. He didn't seem worried. Like, his 9-year-old daughter is missing, and he didn't seem to care. So for me, that was suspicious. And when I heard that her older brother told that he was her father that killed her, I wasn't really surprised. I actually thought, like, you are involved in this, unfortunately. As I said, it's not the first case here in Portugal that a parent kills their own child, so it's still shocking. Yeah, that's all for this video, guys. I hope these two monsters rot in jail for the rest of their lives. I know I said this like 1,000 times in this video, but I really hope they do. That's what they deserve. If you're new to my channel, please subscribe. I post a video every Saturday. And comment down below your thoughts on this case. And if you have a specific case that you want me to talk about, you can reach out to me in the comments or through my social media that will be linked down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on my next video. Bye bye!